What do you see as the role of visual arts in society today, particularly in your profession?
Visual arts play such a large role in society today that sometimes we forget how huge the role is. Just about everything you look at throughout your normal day has some sort of visual form of art that identifies with the product, from the label on your underclothes to the name of the shoes on your feet to the food that you eat. They all contain logos, which we use to identify with the product. These logos are all forms of visual art. If you step out of your door, the buildings you see are visual architectural art. That car that you drive is considered a visual piece of art. That being said, if you were to ask me, anything visible can be conceived as visual art, particularly in the recording industry. Artist photos have been one of the biggest forms of visual arts. It gives consumers a visual of the person or group they are listening to, which is a big deal when it comes to marketing or branding a product. There was a time when music videos didn't exist, which now is another form of visual art. Album art is another form of visual art amongst the recording industry. In the late 70s, hip hop brought us the lost visual art form of graffiti, not to mention the various logos that identify the record labels. Artists, DJs, management companies, publishing companies, touring companies, etc., all associated with the recording industry, are all visual art.
New communications and media technologies make imagery almost instantly available. Do you believe this is having a positive or negative influence on your field or industry?
I think this could be both positive and negative depending upon an individual's place in the industry. I was born in the 80s. Back then, as an artist, it was hard to get a recording contract. You really had to be talented and work very hard on your talents in hopes that someday you perform in front of the right person who is connected to a label, who see you as a marketable artist and is interested in entering a contract with you. I think this way of doing things was negative on the artist. Labels were taking gambles on the type of artist and investing large amounts of money, which made negotiating the recording contracts hard on the artist. The contracts were greatly in favor for the labels. Fast forward to the 2000s, where the internet changed things a lot. Upcoming artists now have the ability to brand and market themselves. Let's take hip hop artist Soulja Boy, for example. He made a name for himself via his YouTube channel, making music videos for his music. After some time, he builds up his followers to millions. All these hip hop labels start to pay him some attention, which starts a bidding war for him to sign a contract. He now has options, with more than one contract being presented to him. He can now take the contract which best suits him. Then, knowing the type of following he has, he can use that as leverage to negotiate that contract better for himself. I think this positive thing for him as an artist. This could be a negative thing for the labels, given the fact when they create these contracts, they want to give the artist less as possible.
What popular images do you see that are frequently repeated throughout your industry?
That's a good question. Well, throughout pop culture, images of half naked women you tend to see often. Sex sells, and putting half naked women in videos and magazines has been a common thing for decades when it comes to marketing music. Pretty much all things material, nice cars, jewelry, big luxurious houses, is all glorified in the industry.
Who is one of your favorite visual artists, and what is your favorite style of visual art?
I'm really not that into art to have a favorite visual artist or style of visual art. I do, however, appreciate all kinds of visual art. The fact that you can take your ideas and turn them into something visual, creative, is intriguing. Therefore, I respect all visual artists.
How has your knowledge of famous artworks influenced your creative process?
I really can't say that famous artworks have influenced my creative process. As a singer songwriter, I find that I'm most creative when I put my everyday life experiences into my writings. I do, however, find inspiration from various other things. I just can't say that famous artworks are one of them. I read a lot of poetry and fiction. I've written great songs from scenarios taken from these everyday things I like to do. I also get inspiration from movies. I sometimes challenge myself to write songs that would be the perfect soundtrack to a favorite movie of mine.